The year was 1980, the peak of the Cold War, and the tension between the East and the West was a palpable, suffocating blanket over Europe. Deep within the dense, dark woods of Suffolk, England, sat two of the most sensitive military installations in the world, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. These weren't just ordinary bases. They were leased to the United States Air Force and were rumored to house a massive stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons, making them a primary target for Soviet interest. But on the night of December 26, the threat didn't come from behind the Iron Curtain, nor did it arrive with the roar of jet engines. It began as a series of strange, unexplained lights dancing just beyond the perimeter fence, deep within the ancient pines of Rendlesham Forest. What followed over the next 3 nights would become the most documented, witnessed, and terrifying UFO encounter in military history, involving high-ranking officers, physical craft, and a silent, glowing intelligence that seemed to defy every known law of physics, leaving behind a trail of radiation and a legacy of secrecy that persists to this very day. It started in the early hours of the morning when security patrols spotted lights descending into the forest, thinking perhaps a civilian aircraft had gone down or a pilot was in distress. Airman John Burroughs and Sergeant Bud Steffens approached the eastern gate, witnessing a glow that illuminated the entire forest floor like a second sun. As they moved deeper into the trees, the air grew thick with static electricity, the hair on their arms standing up as a low, rhythmic humming sound vibrated through their chests. They expected to find wreckage, but instead they stumbled upon a metallic, triangular craft, pulsing with blue and white light, hovering just inches above the ground or resting on 3 small landing legs. This wasn't a flare, and it wasn't a lighthouse. It was a physical machine of unknown origin that moved with a fluid, silent grace through the thicket, weaving between trees that should have been impossible to navigate for any man-made vehicle. When one of the airmen reached out to touch the cold, glass-like surface of the craft, he felt a surge of information, a binary code flooding his mind, while the object suddenly accelerated upward, vanishing into the stars in the blink of an eye, leaving the soldiers standing in a deafening, unnatural silence. The military's reaction was swift and initially dismissive, but the physical evidence left behind was impossible to ignore. The next morning, investigators found 3 clear depressions in the frozen ground where the craft had rested, and more disturbingly, Geiger counters began to scream as they detected radiation levels 10 times higher than the background norm. But the forest wasn't done with them yet. 2 nights later, Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, a man known for his stern, no-nonsense skepticism, decided to lead a team back into the woods to debunk the rumors once and for all. Armed with a microcassette recorder to document the nothingness he expected to find, Halt instead captured the sounds of absolute chaos. His voice, preserved on those tapes, shifts from calm authority to sheer, breathless disbelief as he describes a glowing, red eye-like object moving through the trees, dripping what looked like molten metal, before it approached the team and fired beams of concentrated light down at their feet and toward the nuclear storage bunkers back at the base. The phenomenon seemed to be observing them, reacting to their presence with a calculated, almost mocking intelligence. Halt described the object as having a dark center, appearing to be an eye that was winking, while multiple smaller objects broke away and performed maneuvers that outperformed the most advanced fighter jets of the era. The airmen watching from the perimeter reported that the beams of light directed at the weapons storage areas were like laser probes, searching for something within the high-security vaults. 4 hours, the base was in a state of undeclared emergency, with radar operators at nearby Eastern Radar tracking an object that moved at thousands of miles per hour only to come to a dead stop instantly. This wasn't just a sighting. It was an intrusion into the most secure airspace in the United Kingdom by a power that clearly possessed a level of technology that made the American nuclear arsenal look like primitive tools from a bygone age. In the years following the incident, the official narrative was one of silence and obfuscation. The Ministry of Defense claimed the lights were merely the beam from the Orford Ness Lighthouse, a theory that insultingly ignored the testimony of dozens of trained observers who knew exactly where the lighthouse was located. They ignored the radiation readings, the physical imprints on the ground, and the corroborating radar data. However, as declassified documents began to surface under the Freedom of Information Act, the true scale of the Rendlesham Forest incident began to emerge. It became clear that the United States government and the British authorities were terrified of what had occurred, not because it was a hoax, but because it was an undeniable encounter with something non-human. The psychological toll on the witnesses was immense, with many being told to keep their mouths shut or face the end of their military careers, while others suffered from unexplained health issues linked to the radiation exposure they endured on those cold December nights. Today, Rendlesham Forest stands as a monument to the unknown, a place where the veil between our world and something much more mysterious was briefly lifted. The Roswell Britannico remains a cornerstone of urology because it lacks the ambiguity of many other cases. It involves multiple military witnesses, physical traces, and a commander who was willing to put his reputation on the line to tell the truth. As we look back at the halt tape and the sketches of the triangular craft, we are forced to ask, were we being visited by extraterrestrials, or was this a glimpse into a classified human technology that is still hidden from the public? Perhaps it was something even more profound, a crack in the fabric of time or a message from a different dimension. Whatever the truth may be, the events of 1980 at Bentwaters and Woodbridge serve as a haunting reminder that there are powers in this universe that we are only just beginning to understand, watching us from the shadows of the forest.